Good afternoon. I will do a presentation, a webinar on user-centric content as announced. There has been two previous webinars that discussed more on a theoretical level, the transformation of technical documentation and the information maturity. So this is the third one, user-centric content. And if you didn't saw the previous two, you can go to YouTube, look for Etteplan webinar 2020, and there you will find both webinars. So you can view the recorded webinar through YouTube if you would like to do that. So my name is Pim Bekker. I'm a senior solution architect within Etteplan, and I'm going to talk about user-centric content. So what is the trend? Well, digitalization of content. What's the current way of working? What is user-centric content? Talk about metadata, and in the end, I can take some questions and hopefully find also the answers for that. So if you have any questions, please put them in the questions part of the GoToWebinar application, and I will look into those questions at the end. Okay, this is a slide that has been used in the previous two webinars. So I'm not going into detail about what this slide means, but I can go through it shortly. There is a relationship between the maturity of the industry 1.0 as a start, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and the maturity of the information that goes with that maturity level of the industry. So the first level, if we talk about technical documentation, is creating a book. This is done by one department and is for one owner, one format, one publisher. In industry 2.0, we will do this in a more efficient way, modular, reusable, and being able to publish to more than one format. So there's more formats, but still one owner, one delivery, one publisher. In industry 3.0, we will have many formats, multiple formats. There's probably more than one owner. So we combine information from different sources and start publishing that as one source for an end user, for example. A combination of a technical manual and maybe the spare part manual, or embed your manual in a system as embedded help. And information 4.0 is that this information is a molecule that is reusable anywhere it needs to be used. So while creating content, you do not know how this content in the end will be published, where, on what kind of device. So that publishing part is like not under your control. So there's many formats, many owners, many deliveries, and many publishers. So it's not under control of one publisher. There are many publishers where this information is combined. So in technical information, there we have this maturity ladder, you could say, levels, and it starts with 0, that's uncontrolled. Let's say this is a Word document that can be printed or used as a PDF file. So we start with level 1, where it's controlled, and it's seen as a job to create good technical documentation. In level 2, we use a content management system. In level 3, we start reusing it across different departments. In level 4, we will give the information to a user of this information at the right time based on a certain context. And in level 5, that's the industry 4.0, where it's automated and dynamic and triggered by an application. So that's the maturity level, and normally you would go from level 1 to 2 to the next one, the next one, the next one. It might not be so strict, but it would be wise to follow these steps to go in the end to more dynamic content. So it's going from a product-oriented way of creating content into a user-centric way of creating content. What I do in this webinar is that I will try to show you some practical examples of how this could look like, and I would like to start the discussion how this could work for you, for your projects, for your products. So I'm not going to show you the ultimate solution of how user-centric will look like. I want to start a discussion on, okay, how do we create better content for digital publications and starting to create this user-centric content. And for that, I use some content from Boneda, Entrance Solutions. So they are a manufacturer of, in this example, this turning doors, all kind of entry system solutions, like Schiphol is there. How do you say? Schiphol is their best customer. There you can see all their solutions. Today, most projects are done in a content management system. Inside Etteplan, we do this based on data. So there's a data content management system. There's an XML editor. There might be a controlled language checker. In our case, this would be HyperSTE. And with this, we will be able to publish the content from the CMS to, for example, PDF. And based on a plugin, we can create also a web output, or maybe an InDesign output, or information in all kind of formats required depending on the project. So this is the traditional way of working. And as an example of the maturity levels that I showed before and has been presented in the previous webinars, maturity level 1 is simply using a CMS and publish this as PDF output. On the next level is that I can use exactly the same information and put it online. So I can use a content delivery portal. In this case, it's Fluid Topics, and put the same information that was published in the PDF file as an online publication. I immediately get some extra features when I publish this online. I can bookmark my information. I can collect information and create my own personal book where I say this is the information I always need when I do this task, or I can send feedback. So this can be used to say, I found some information in the manual and it's not correct, or I don't understand it, or could you please check this or check that. So we can support immediately feedback functionality. Because I'm an administrator, I can see all metadata of this topic. That's not for all users. It would be possible to print this again. So I have found some of my information and I want to be able to print it, and I can select what I want to print and then print this immediately to PDF. And I can share information with others, say, here is some information that could be interesting for you. So by taking the exact same information that is in the PDF and put it online gives me already some advantages at maturity level 2. In maturity level 3, there's this combination of information in this case, an example of a spare part manual, where spare part information and the technical manual is combined in one publication, in one solution. So this is the spare part information. I can order a part, and what we did is that we connected the technical information through a link using an icon to see, okay, there's some installation information here. If I click that, I will be able to see that information. Maybe it's a bit small, can zoom in a bit. So I can choose between, I want to remove this card reader box, or I already have the part, but now I need to know how to install it. So I want to remove this card reader box, gives me the instruction how to do that inside the spare part solution. This is exactly the same information that was used in the PDF, and now it's embedded in the spare part catalog. The maturity level 4, giving a person the right information at the right time, could be an AR application. So in this case, it's an AR application that is giving you the information how to do the same thing, remove the card reader box. By looking at it at the device, it recognizes the device and it will give you the right information at the right place for that user in an AR application or VR. It can be switched to virtual reality also. And again, it is using exactly the same information that was also used in the PDF, in the online, in the spare part catalog. And now it's also available in an AR, VR application. So the benefit is that you can reuse all this information, which is good. I don't have to create this new for an AR or VR application or a spare part catalog. Another thing is that it will all look the same. So if I have different solutions for my customers, the information has the same look and feel. It's not that in one application, photos are used or technical drawings. I can reuse all those drawings with the same look and feel in the different publication types we have. So next to the benefit of all the reuse, there's also a huge benefit for the end user that it has the same look and feel. Maturity level 5, where information is triggered by the device itself. So the machine talks with the information that is available about the machine. How does that look? This is a simple overview of how this works, and we did a proof of concept of this, and it can be implemented. There are sensors that collect information, and this information will be stored in the cloud. It will be analyzed. You can have a dashboard on top of that to view the status of that machine. And based on the analytics, you can generate the information. For example, for a service engineer, here is a task list for you because we've seen in all this sensor data that the machine needs some attention so it will not break next week. Go to the machine and do all these steps that we collected for you to prevent it from breaking. So that's the maturity level 5, where sensor data is used, and based on analytics, the right information is provided. And if the analytics is done in the right way, you can do this before the machine breaks. Okay, so that were the different levels and the some examples of information that is connected to those levels, how that could look. So what will happen if we will start publishing the content that was created to do a PDF online, and will we be able to reach a certain level of that? So I took a look at some existing content to see how user-centric this content was designed. What is user-centric? User-centric content is more or less information created for a user, how they expect it for the way they want to use that information. So user-centric can be described as designed for the way the user wants to use the system or the content. You could think that, okay, we are already creating user-centric content because we put information into a user manual, a service manual, or maintenance manual, installation manual, and a separate manual. So it's already designed for that user, but that's on a very high level. I want to look into this in a bit more detail. So what most writers do today, because everybody is more or less still focusing on creating this PDF file, is an example, a real life example that I use. It's a simple example, but it's just to explain a bit what is happening today. If I zoom in a bit on that page, so there's a maintenance task list here, and it describes that you have to do this on a daily basis, and then it refers to the task itself. So zooming in a bit more, the information that the do a general inspection is a daily task, and that this is something that a user needs to do. So in case of Bonedam, we could talk about a building owner that has his entry, this revolving door in his building, and he needs to do a daily task, do a general inspection, or clean the machine every week. If we look at this information, this daily or weekly, monthly information is only in 5.2 as a maintenance task list created by the writer. The information that do a general inspection is a daily task is not stored in the task itself. That is not really a problem if you want to publish this information online. If we looked at this before in the content delivery portal, in the online publication, this will publish, but it means that the writer had to create this maintenance task list by hand and say, this is what you need to do. So if this is changing, one of the tasks is dropped because it's not necessary anymore, I need to update this table, and the writer decides the tasks that needs to be done and in what frequency. So the question is that the best idea? I looked into the CMS and looked for the metadata that is connected to this task, and there is a lot of information already available that we can use. So we know what language it is. There's a title. There is a breakdown of what product it is. In what product does this piece of information needs to go? What kind of type of information it is? It's based on data. So in this case, it's a machinery task. We know that this will be a procedure, but there's some additional information, info class, that tells me something more about the context. This is a maintenance procedure, but there's no information here about that this needs to be done by a building owner, and there's no information here that you need to do this task daily. If you look at the source of this content, there is no information. I cannot find any information, not as metadata, not in the XML itself, that can be used for that purpose. So what could be done is that you add this metadata, for example, into the XML, or at least it needs to be there when it's published to be used, for example, by the owner of the building, so that it can find this task. So we can discuss when this metadata needs to be added, but I just added it in the source material in the CMS, which is allowed when you are using data. There is this prologue where you can add metadata, and I added a metadata audience and typed in that this is for the audience owner, building owner. And there's another one called category, and I use that to do the interval. And if we look in a bit more detail, there was already a lot of metadata available that is pushed into this content. This is more or less the content that will be published in this portal, this content delivery portal. So I knew already that it was a maintenance procedure that it belonged to a certain product family. There's a lot of information from the CMS. What's the object ID? What's the version? When was it created or released? And now we have this additional information that there is an audience of the type owner, and you could even divide it into a second level, but I took the same. So owner is the audience, and I misused the category to define the interval, which was filled with the text daily. You can also discuss about, should that be daily, or should that be 1, or should that be some kind of number that is referring to the interval, because for customer A, the interval could be different than for customer B, but this is just an example. I enriched the information that is going to be published in the content delivery portal with this information. And then it's possible to, for example, use this content delivery portal and use a filter to say, okay, I'm an owner and I need to know my daily tasks. And then a writer doesn't have to create this table with all the tasks he needs to do, but the system can give you this information. So if it's changing tomorrow, a new topic has been released that you have to do, or one has removed, the filter will take care of giving you the right information at the right time. So you are able to use this audience immediately. It's supported by the content delivery portal as a filter that can be used to give you exact that information that you are looking for. In this example, we have done an internal project where we looked into this, and in this project, this app was developed in this state. It's more or less an HTML web page, but it's using an API call on a script in the background that is calling exactly the same information that is in the content delivery portal. And here I could build my own interface. So I could build an app for a building owner, and he can look in his app in the morning when he wants to open his building. Is there anything I need to do today with my revolving door? And then he will get a list. Yeah, today you have to do clean the machine. And I will get that procedure in my app, and I know exactly what to do. So you can build mobile apps based on exactly the same information. And if you add this metadata, I can use this kind of filtering to give information to the person that that information needs. Very simple example of user-centric content. What will be the end goal of moving away from PDF, going into digital publications, combining information from different business units, is a content delivery portal here in the middle that is filled with information from different business units. So that could be customer information, technical information, technical manuals, user manuals, service information, spare part information. That's all stored in the content delivery portal. And then there are consumers of this information. So that could be the owner of the building that needs information and is using an app, and it will collect the information, give it to the app, and the user can use the app to do his task. There could be a service engineer that's using this AR application to service the device, and it's using the same content delivery portal, and it gives that same information into a completely different environment. You could use a different app, a sales app or a sales configurator in your sales process, and that is reusing the information from the content delivery portal to do the task that user needs. So it's centralizing all the information in the content delivery portal, independent of how it's going to be used, and provide it in the right way to the right user. So it can be used in an optimized way. Okay. So we went through this user-centric content webinar. There's a couple of minutes left. I don't know if there are any questions, then please let me know. I don't see any questions coming in, but if you have questions or are interested to talk about this subject or have a discussion on how this could be used in a project or for your implementation in your environment, I'm happy to answer the questions or start a discussion with you.